what, Rita and Rowan, the interesting thing about this here is that this shows that the ideology behind The Voice has not been defeated.
No,
The Voice itself was defeated. But what you're talking about here, Rita, is a situation where the left believes that Australia is an illegitimate state, that it's a colonial settler state, that there needs to be multiple sovereignties. You know, we've seen all of that. And there's this whole idea, we're seeing it play out around the world, that in any society, the people who got there second last are the legitimate people to be there. Doesn't matter who else came before or after. It's the most recent previous inhabitants. But this whole thing, I mean, besides the fact that for these camping bans and mountain climbing bans, you know, they put me in a very invidious position because I don't think anybody should want to go camping or mountain climbing. That sounds like hell on earth to me, and yet I have to defend the right to do it. What I also think, though, is fascinating is we're also seeing now still this kind of Trumpian line from the Yes campaign, people like Thomas Mayo saying, oh, it wasn't because of a bad idea that it lost, it was because of, you know, misinformation. And we're seeing Thomas Mayo and people like this still pushing this idea, and we're going to see the government pushing its misinformation bill still to try and censor what you can say, what people can say online, and try and get the social media
I think I've got to stop you there. I think that's
people.
The first time Thomas Mayo has ever been accused of being Trumpian. I don't know where that comes from.
That is an interesting analogy.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. But the reality is that what Thomas Mayo is laying the groundwork for is Labor's misinformation and disinformation bill. This is the thing where they're going to monitor social media, and I'll be talking about this later in the show, how it works, this roundabout way where they get the big tech companies to censor you, but they're really doing it on behalf of the government. It's the most obscene and corrupt behaviour, but that's what our Labor government's got planned for you and for your opinions. Rita?
And we've already seen that. We saw that during the worst of the COVID era, and this became apparent after Elon Musk bought Twitter, now X, and saw the way it was systematically censored. Real information, credible information from credible scientists that was anti-lockdown, that questioned some of the restrictions that we were all being, some of the vaccine mandates. It was all censored, including in this country, and to the detriment of all of us. So to go down that
100%.
road
well, and so, Rita, this is where, to bring it back to the, you know, this Indigenous issue, in Victoria now, there's a calls to bolster what are called the culture police.
I couldn't believe it's culture police.
And these culture police would have the right to enter people's private property, such as farms and houses in Victoria, without the owner's permission to check to see if there's been violations committed of Indigenous cultural sites or heritage or land or any of that sort of thing.
This is Orwellian.
This is what happens. It's Orwellian, and this is where it goes. You know, the same mentality. People always look at these things sort of in isolation. COVID, The Voice, all these. It's all this thread of statism, and it's this thread of control, and a thread of anti-freedom, and a thread of, I think, really cracking down on ordinary Australians who just want to live their lives and tell them how they are supposed to live. Rita?
This is the left's march, and it's always the same people, whether it's global warming, whether it's race issues, BLM marches or Invasion Day, or whether now you're seeing people taking to the street for the Palestinian cause. It is the same people in almost all the cases. The same group of people pushing, like James said, this anti-West agenda, this push to say we're not legitimate, this is an evil country built on racism.
I was hoping when I saw...
And when you say something like culture police, I get chills. I came from a country where there's a morality police, and they go around checking to see if women are wearing their hijabs properly, and if they're not, they get beaten up and taken to jail. Sometimes they get killed. So when you're talking about anything like this, alarm bells start ringing, and they should start ringing for everybody.